what might like a daily diet look like for a person who's trying to like combat the symptoms of PCOS?
Yeah. So there are actually two parts to this kind of diet. And this is like something I like to say to my clients. You can actually become unhealthy eating healthy food. You can also become healthy eating unhealthy food. So one of the most common misconceptions I see in nutrition is that the quality of nutrition is the be all and end all. Now you might think I'm kind of contradicting myself. I was just talking about healthy food a minute ago. What I mean to say is a handful of nuts can be 500 calories. 3 spoons of olive oil can be about 400 calories. If every time you get stressed, you're having a whole lot of nuts and you're having your Greek salad with a whole lot of olive oil, you could end up gaining weight and the condition becomes worse. Equally, there was a professor who wanted to prove this point. He went on the McDonald's diet, but it was a low-calorie McDonald's diet. Every time he'd go in, he'd cut the burger in half. He'd cut everything down in half. He was having a 1600 calorie meal, but he was cutting it in half. So he was having 800 calories for lunch, 800 calories for dinner, which is 1600 calories. And he'd have a bit of vegetable or whatever on top of that, 50 calories more perhaps. He was in a calorific deficit. He did it for about 2 months. McDonald's diet. He lost weight. His blood pressure got better. His cholesterol got better. Everything got better. So you can get unhealthy on a healthy diet. You can become healthy on an unhealthy diet. We need to think about food quality. Very important. I'll be the last person to deny that. I mean, I did a nutrition certification from Harvard, but you can also become healthy on an unhealthy diet and vice versa, because calories are really what decide whether you gain or lose weight. And so you do have to be mindful. I don't want to give people the impression that calories are everything, but not being aware of calories, not understanding that a spoon of mayonnaise is 125 calories, a spoon of zero sugar tomato ketchup is 5 calories, mustard is 5 calories, soy sauce is 5 calories, low fat mayonnaise is about 35 calories, Greek, I don't know how, is it tzatziki or zaki, whatever, I'm not sure if the T is silent or not. That kind of spread will be about 25 calories per spoon. If you know the common calorie mistakes that people make, then you can avoid making those mistakes. And because I've been coaching clients for years now on my health coaching program, I see so many people who eat perfect 99% of the time, but it's that those 1% of the time when they make those high calorie mistakes messes up their whole progress. So you do need to be aware of calories. You need to know what you're putting inside you from a calorific point of view. Otherwise, you could be in a situation where you're eating extremely healthy but not losing weight.
I have a question. Oh, wait, never mind. My bad.
How many calories should one with PCOS be eating or intaking a day?
Yeah. So the easiest way to go about it is download an app. The common ones are Chronometer, MyFitnessPal. I prefer apps like Snap Calorie and Cal.ai, because you can just take a picture of your food and it'll give you the calorific estimation. These are not the most accurate apps, but it doesn't really matter so much. We're not trying to become bodybuilders or physique models. We don't have to measure every last calorie. You need to have a ballpark figure, or you need to have a ballpark idea of where you are. So even the picture taking apps like Cal.ai and Snap Calorie are good enough in my book. The app will tell you what your BMR is, your basal metabolic rate, which is how many calories you need to consume to not lose or gain weight. So that'll be based upon your age, your activity levels, and also your height. And then to lose about a pound or half a kilogram of weight, or rather fat, you need to be in a calorific deficit of about 3,500 calories per week. which averaging over 7 days is about 500 calories per day. So if your BMR turns out to be 1900 calories, the app will often advise you consume something like 1400 calories, 500 calories less to be in that. Saying that, the app doesn't really know what your lifestyle is like. So what you really need to do is you can take the app's word for it and just try to follow that diet, or rather that calorie target. But if you don't lose weight, it's not because you're doing something wrong. You're not losing weight because you're not in a caloric deficit. The app got it wrong. The app over-calculated your calories, so you got to reduce it even further. So remember, it's an estimation. The app doesn't really know what you're doing, but it's a good way of starting off. You got to start off somewhere, so you can use these apps for that.
One question I have is that if you're like on a trip or a vacation and you're going to eat something from outside, what restaurants would you recommend to look for?
Yeah. So personally, I tend to use the Chipotle types or the Greek or Mediterranean type restaurants. So like a chicken shawarma or a chicken shawarma wrap, or I try to choose white meats and fish and seafood over red meats for sure. So I try to make that distinction. Also, I always try to, if you can just get grilled protein rather than like deep fried, you're gonna just see a whole lot of benefit. I mean, it's very simple. You're gonna have a protein source, you're gonna have a carb source. Make the carb source as whole as possible. So if you can get the option of quinoa or brown rice at Chipotle, for example, that would be a better option than white rice or just white flour based, whatever. White tortillas. So having at my supermarket, I even get this high protein tortilla. It's got a good amount of fiber and protein in the tortilla wrap. So you can actually start looking at food labels and try to choose something which is, more in line with what you're trying to achieve. And so you're just looking for a good protein source, which is not red, which is not deep fried, which is a kind of grilled white or seafood based or a plant based protein. You're looking for a carb source, which is more whole, so more brown, less white. And then you're looking for some fermented foods as well for your gut microbiome and your gut brain axis. So some yogurt or maybe some sauerkraut or some miso, tempeh, something like on those lines. And then you're also looking for some healthy fats, so you can stick in a bit of olives or avocado or some seeds and nuts, or maybe a bit of olive oil or something on those lines. And you're getting some with the fish anyways if you chose fish as your protein source. And so that's generally how you would create a healthy plate. And whatever fast food joint is giving you those kinds of options, which typically tend to be your Mediterranean, like Jimmy the Greek, those Mediterranean style, Greek food style restaurants tend to give you most of those kinds of options, I find.
I have a question. So, some symptoms that women with PCOS experience often are acne, oily skin, and hair loss on the scalp. What are some foods that you would recommend to combat those symptoms?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So again, trying to increase estrogen, that would be soy isoflavones. That would be primarily soy, soybeans, edamame, tempeh, miso. Also trying to reduce, also using food which contain myo-inositol and chiro-inositol, D-chiro-inositol. That is things like lentils, legumes, beans, and whole grains, including food which reduce inflammation. So that would be the colors we talked about, fruits and vegetables of all kinds of colors, and spices with all kinds of colors. And then you're trying to reduce inflammation through omega-3 as well. So again, fish, olives, avocado, seeds, and nuts. And that's primarily it. That's more or less it. Of course, there are effective medications which can help. These are usually anti-androgen medications. So there's one called spironolactone, for example, which can reduce hair growth on the face and reduce balding of the head. And if any of you want to check out my website, healthgroupcoaching.com, I have a blog on hair loss, and I have a blog on PCOS, and I also have a blog specifically for male type baldness for women,